Parametrized is an initiative by Equim Education, and the last session took place in mid-Jan, and it was a 5-day power pack workshop designed to kickstart the journey on parametric architecture and computational design domain, with training and hands-on experience of Rhino and Grasshopper. And the workshop went for over 30 hours, 35 hours in total over the course of these 5 days. And then finally, the 60 students that we had were divided into groups of six, where they had to collaborate with each other over a period of 1 week and come up with a project for the design competition. And the workshop involved the participants collaborating with each other and designing a conceptual project with the concepts that they learned. So, the design problem that was given for the competition was an underwater set. What would a person feel like if they were living underwater in an ocean? They had to create a scene of underwater with a building unit, and it could be any building with any use case by making the best use of tools that they learned throughout the workshop. And the building should itself be nature inspired, and it should blend with the ocean ecosystem very cohesively. These were the guidelines given to the participants, and the designs were judged on the basis of the concept, narrative, usage of tools, the scene that was made underwater, and finally the presentation and documentation. And here are the results.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. We're Group 1, and Harsh, Pathak, and myself, Venushi, we worked on the presentation here today. So, our project is called Between Ocean and Sky, and it's called that way because we thought of branching, like connecting between the sky and the ocean for the entire concept of nature, exploring the environment and how we can connect from different levels. So the idea is to have like a function that connects between the different spheres. So the first one is like an bird observation platform on the top level, and then our concept started to accommodate like a promenade on the base water level, and we'll have a cafe and restaurant that will engage the public, and then we'll have gallery and visitor center, which is attached to a marine research laboratory. So below that, below on the water level, we wanted to have like a diving school that like uses all the other facilities of the Marine Research Laboratory to explore the marine species. So I'd like Harsh to take you through the basic concept that we started working on.
Thank you, Venture, to start the presentations. See, now it's my time to take your attention submarine under the water. We all know that underwater has been attractive and curiosity for the human being. So we both as a team start exploring and employing the part of underwater in our design. See, it's a new medium for a human to accommodate or your for an entertainment person and even corresponding a new subject in a state of an architect. So we desire to explore the mysterious world of that underwater. The main objective of our exploration to get an ideal concept. See, according to your conditions and even certain limitations of the environment, in order to set your fundamental for architectural approaches in a design. It's very easy to take or put anything in a water, but we also work in a geometry that even can withstand with your hydrostatic pressure. So for that, we have taken a Portidia coral. It's a species of a coral. You can see a top right image. It's a species of a coral that we taken as a concept. Yep. And we cut in a horizontal manner and we get a floor plate. Now it's time for us to get know about the exterior facade. So for that, we are just start working on the tissue level of that coral. You can see a green and blue. Yep. Kindly focus on a cursor. These are the exterior portion. Now there are different structure that eventually also had let you know that upper water and underwater. So for that structural integrity, we take stingray as a concept and giving a symmetry. You can see a top left image. There is a stingray and we use the curvature of that stingray which can easily withstand with your water. move to the further, now I request Venushri to tell you about the levels. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Harsh. So, the idea of the concept is to integrate two elements. One is the balance of the form, and the second one is the perforations that act like a good sort of barrier between the water and the structure inside. So, so here you can see the form as like it's a fluid movement that is akin to the sea. So the idea here is to create a form that is integrated with the form of the sea itself. So it's not something that's imposed on the natural environment, which is for two reasons. One is we wanted to blend in with the environment and as well stand out in a way that it acts as an observatory to the marine species. And so, one other concept we had as part of the idea is that we wanted to have layers of structure and activity. So, because ours is between the ocean and the sky, so the layers of structure is such that you have these floor plates that are adjacent to the structure, showing how you can have the roof for the bird observation platform at the top levels above the water. And then you can have the public access levels, then you have the research lab. So, we wanted some separation of function and also like united with the entire structure itself. So that was the idea in this section. So here, as Harsh mentioned previously about the corals and how we were inspired by the tissue levels of the surface perforations. So the way we designed the surface is such that the perforations can open and close as the water level changes. So the idea was when you want the perforations to close, you want to seal the structure from the water when the water level rises, and when they open to the sky for lighting, because we thought that underwater you wouldn't have much of lighting, so you need to have some sunlight. So the roof sort of opens up for the light, and then it creates like little those lighting that comes through the perforations. And then what happens when they close is like the water stagnates above and it creates little water features. So that was the idea. So it's creating a very dynamic sort of environment all the time. So as the water level moves, the structure itself and the way it's perceived changes. So here, as I mentioned previously about the layers of activity and then how the platforms are staggered in such a way that we wanted to accommodate those levels of privacy, and then the areas lower are used for the marine research labs. And then there are private pods below over here. So you have areas above that engage the public, and then those areas are dynamically transforming with the raising water level. So the concept of how the perforations are opening and closing is sort of illustrated here, where I'm showing how it's stagnating water in some places, which acts like little pond-like features. And this is how it'll sort of look. So I like Harsh to take you through the codes and iterations of how we arrived at this form.
Okay, thank you. So what we are generally studying in our previous sessions, that what's the use of form. So we take that a normal form and gives in our perspective to change it in a natural concept. So you can see we have already worked in a column-based structure. So for that we are using a stray. We just combine that a fusion of that normal form to the our concept, that's a stingray, and you can see a roof structure over there. So this is how it will look. Move ahead. Yes, these are generally the scriptings, and we can easily see there are two separate units at the bottom of our ocean scraper that even work for the different recreational spaces, that work as a recreational spaces. Like it can even use for your driving school. Can you can the both of you can use it as a resort, or your dormitories, and we have already discussed the central star. Move ahead.
Sure. Just before that, I would like to inform if you've noticed that the perforations on some of the columns in the structure is different from the some of the others. That is because on let me just go back to this one. If you see this one, it's more like polygonal, and that's because we want it to be openable and close. But this one, it's sort of more fluid because we wanted to have some vegetation growing there, so that'll create like a micro environment for the species below. And okay, so this is what I mentioned before about the water level raising and lowering down. So the idea here is that the inside space where the gallery space is, it's sort of framing a view to the underwater where you can see all those marine species that are in their own habitat that are moving around. And then that's pushed in towards the water away from the site itself. And then what you have is that when the water rises up and the pores open, the water fills up and creates a little bit of a pond until this level. So what happens is that this itself becomes like a water feature on the inside. So although you can't really connect to the water outside, you can connect when it fills up on the inside. So that's the idea of how we want to have the dynamically changing environment. And what we did below was that the structure is placed in such a way that it's creating like a pathway for those diving, those people who are diving down there to explore the entire nature. So it's creating a story like narrative when you're moving across those structures. So it's not like a structure that's imposed on the entire building. That's the idea here. And about the roof, I'd like Harsh to just take you through, and also the way of entering into the structure itself.
Yeah. So it's as I have already told you, that it's a relation between a build form and a nature. So for that, we just designed a roof. You can see two carriage at the back of it. So it's generally we have taken Fizzy Island as a location where we used to supposed to design it. So for that, we just provided it two cages. Like you have to take any type of water vehicle to come there. You will just be it's a form of a port. You will stand there, and then you have another, you will go to your R structure. Yeah.
Sure. So the roof structure is
Please go
also in
ahead.
such a way that it's more polygonal, so it's open and close to the sky above. Like I mentioned about how we want to let the light in. And this is how it looks. And thank you very much. We've just summed up everything here for your reference. I'd like to actually show you a little animation of the way you travel through the structure. It helps to visualize more clearly. I hope you can see it. If somebody can just confirm.
We can see the Avon screen right now, the Avon script. Okay, yeah, video is there.
Yep. Okay, so it's inside and then it moves along to the structure and the way it's showing inside. And then you see the levels that are below. There are staggering platforms which create the functional spaces on the inside. So I think we're done. Thank you. We'd like to leave it here.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Spacescape, an interpretation center to unleash the explorer in you. So we basically came up with this typology to escape beyond the limitations and spectrum of possibilities that land provides with us. So I'll just run through the narrative. So basically, we have one primary structure and a secondary structure. Primary structure is the interpretation center itself, and the secondary structure are the parts. So the interpretation center gives an immersive experience for the leisure and hands-on activities, and also educates and brings awareness about the marine life. And these secondary structure kinetic pods, they are attachable and detachable to the primary structure, and it encourages and it brings in romantic and family friendly getaways. They can just come and hang out for a while in this, and uh, it basically, when you need the sunlight or you want to explore the hands-on activities like diving or something on the surface, it goes up. And then it also acts as a commute mode of transport to travel along the surface or the or to attach to this, and you can go inside this primary structure to explore the interpretation center, and you can go down as observatory tower. So we basically aimed at envisioning the future of mankind. uh, I want.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'll share the screen and show the presentation. Okay, so on the left, you can see a conceptual sketch of what we wanted our design to look like. What we wanted it to represent something that we commonly see in marine life, that is corals and sponges and shells. And so this is what we kind of tried to recreate towards the end. And our project is called Seascape, as Ovia already explained. And then we have on the left, top left, you could see another sketch, which was actually our primary concept. So what we envisioned there was to create a sort of network, like an underwater village sort of, and to have these pods which can hold people inside it, and then it can have detachable transport modules. So the main concept is biomimicry. We take inspiration from marine life, like blowfish or corals and jellyfish. And in the process of form evolution, we had started off with a torus at first and a supporting structure which would be embedded on the seabed. But that later changed a lot in the end, and it kind of became a completely floating structure which resembles a jellyfish. And as we took inspiration from other water based projects, we saw that this kind of shape is what helps in the buoyancy and allows the structure to float effectively and not topple over due to underwater currents. Now, these are the pods. The pods are where all the leisure activities take place. They are also the transport modules to bring people to the main structure, to the interpretation center, and also to take them back on land. These pods can float underwater and as well as on top. And it can open up when it's above water so that people can do common activities like fishing, sailing, etc. It's like a one-stop location for doing multiple activities. Now Sayan will explain the main interpretation center.
Yeah, so you can see like the whole idea was to construct a sustaining special domain that goes beyond the allure of mere packaging. And it should be liberating itself from the clutches of time and architecture, and also the mechanical form, it should be like in a spirit of poetry. So the whole idea of amalgamation of the previous things that we did very technically was to make a fluid structure which holds everything inside its core. The core part is also hollow. That was like we all kept from the beginning. So it's like the marine life and the fishes can swim through, and also it will help this thing to float, as it can it won't be toppling anyways. So because if the current is very high, the water can pass through it. And the extruded parts that you can see which are coming out like arteries, those are like the main structures that holds the pods, and the pods might get mechanically attached to them. It's like a spaceship coming and getting attached with a spacecraft. So that was a whole idea to create a poetry out of it.
Now Mani will briefly explain our process. It's kind of not visible here because the script turned out to be a bit long. Okay, Mani.
We used subd tools in Rhino to make a custom torus first initially, and then it was like resembling a jellyfish. Then we later converted into a mesh in Grasshopper and wanted to create a protruding circular openings on it. So we used a circle CNR and color patterns and color index to get the desired pattern of openings, and we scaled it and moved each circle differently. The geometry was then locked with original meshes to create a B-rep, and we projected the Voronoi cells onto it and the network of flowing curves, which will be the outer shell. We used a fatten plugin for the mesh to thicken, and it was further subdivided into Weaverbird components and resembled the coral skeletons. For the pod, we designed the basic deck and applied the same process of the outer shell. And we also populated two geometries with human figures using grasshopper components like list item, random, and jitter. In the experimental stage that we did initially, we had two parts. That is, the main is the torus part, and the base is the supporting structure. The torus was made of a mesh, a bouncy solver, and the used Weaverbird components and to smoothen it. It resulted in a coral-like surface. The supporting structure was explored, and we used a plugin called Hoopsnake. And two geometries were like disjointed with each other, and also we changed the script and did some alterations to it.
Thank you, Mani. So this is another conceptual sketch to kind of show how at first we had the torus and then there was a hole through it for marine life to pass through. So this interpretation center basically is like a 360-degree aquarium, as you can see. So at any level, people can be viewing marine life on this side and also in the inner side. However, an interpretation center is more than just a museum or an eco-museum. It also allows different educational opportunities, workshops, maybe some hands-on experiences. So all those programs could be happening distributed across all of these levels. But primarily the main aim is to educate people about marine life and at the same time also provide them this leisure kind of getaway and engage them more with the ocean that we have lost our link with. And that's all. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, yeah. So, just a minute. Yeah. So we have named our project like pelagic pragmatism. So our inspiration is from how a pearl is formed into an oyster, and our project is about a marinology school. So we started by how a pearl is actually formed. So it is a long process, but the end product is always beautiful. It takes a lot of efforts, and the same is if the same is applied to a development of a student or a development of any study. It is a long process, but when you get the output, it is the best that one gets. So on basis of this, so the reason for selecting this topic was so that students can experience a life interaction learning by observing the rich marine species underwater, um and at the same time they can share knowledge and see what is happening. Again, there is a provision of laboratories where they can do experiments, and so we kind of uh, made a kind of abbreviation, I can say, for Pearl. So it means performance, empowerment, accountability, responsiveness, and local embeddedness. So these are again the qualities that a school needs, that a student needs to succeed in the in his or her life. So moving ahead. With concept development. So Pearl is like it is formed slowly, as I said, and same is the process with any study or a student. So we decided of making a oyster in which the pearl is sitting. I could directly go to the view. So if you see over here, in the oyster where the pearl is sitting, that will be the main building or the main structure with all the facilities over here. There is a internal view. So this pearl will have all the facilities in it, and these are the open spaces where a person can roam around and experience the marine life under. And we have thought of keeping the oysters such that the half of the portion, at least is 25% of the portion, is above the water, so that there is a opportunity for us to harness all the light within the structure through a light well that we have used. Yeah, and this is one of the interior view that we have put in. And these are the grasshopper codings uh, that we have used to derive for the structure.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Our concept was to create an underwater museum under the proposed Chhatrapati Shivaraj Maharaj's statue in Marine Drive, Mumbai. So this is the site. This is the Marine Drive. So this is a proposed site for the statue, and actually the statue was stopped. The construction was cancelled by a Supreme Court by a petition by Conservation Action Trust, and the reason was to create such a statue, they have to create an island in the sea. So to create an island in the sea, they have to put massive amounts of sand in water, which will basically change the basic biology of the marine life. So instead, what we were planning to do is, like the main idea was to create an underwater structure to support the weight of the statue above it. So we won't be creating an artificial island. We'll be just creating uh, a structure which floats on itself. So also in the structure, we were planning to create a auditorium, museum spaces, and all the entertainment and dining activities, and all the supporting activities, and make it sustainable by providing an area for the aquatic plants and coral reefs to grow under the structure. Also, it would also help in cleaning the water in the marine drive. So, we have we have gone through few concepts, one by Oceanic City by Big Architects, and the Apple Marina Bay by Foster and Partners. So in the Oceanic Big City, we have selected this hexagonal shape of islands which were connected to each other, having different activities, which basically acts as a self-supporting and resilient ecosystem. And also in the Apple Marina Bay store, what Fast and Partners has done was, so under this pier, they have kept all the services required for functioning under the floor plate. So above the floor plate is all just a clear space to just just for the viewing and the usage purposes. So considering these, we have selected an hexagonal form, and and we have planned to create a helical shaft to connect from the surface to the underwater space, so that the people who will go down, so they'll move in a helical path, so that they will have a 360-degree view of the underwater sea, where they can have views to the coral reefs as well as the plantation, the fishes, everything. So, so this is how the overwater structure looks. So we planned a hexagonal shape with pavilions and solar panels on the floor, and we have connected it connected using some bridges for the boats to arrive. And we have created a few pavilions on the top for visitors to enjoy. So this is how the structure looks underwater. So the people will go down through these helical shafts, and whatever the force that basically the weight of the structure will pull it down because of gravity, and with all the air which is inside these structures will pull it up. So basically all the force uh, the force will come towards up, and the gravity will pull it down. So we are planning to create in such a way that force should be equal to the gravity which is coming downwards, so that it will stay balanced. And this is how the under part of it looks, and this is how it's going to look with the plantation and the coral reefs formed under the surface, so which will help in clean the water as well. Vatsala will take over from now to explain the form.
So most of the forms that we've developed, we've taken most of the underwater components itself as the inspiration. So for example, our shaft itself has been inspired from a whirlpool. So because we needed something to link our surface structure and our underwater structure, so we used a whirlpool as the concept to develop this shaft. Also, while we were reading about how oceanariums and museums work, especially if it has to be underwater, we found out that at different levels, so the ocean has 5 zones. And according to the zone, the aquatic life changes, the flora and fauna. So through through the pipes that we have in our shaft, they can have that 360-degree view of how even the variation happens. Next slide, Janardhan. So this is the shaft concept. Yeah, so the script is, I mean, so we took hexagons to develop the main shaft since we wanted it to be in coherence with our base form. So yeah, I mean, go to the next one. Then we come to the core. So the core is also a hexagon because we had to maintain the character. I mean, we wanted to. It wasn't a necessity, but we wanted to. So this is our core where we wanted all of our surrounding structures to be connected underwater. And this is where the interaction would happen of the users. So that was the reason we chose this as our center core. Next. Sanatan, move the slide. Yeah. So this is our code, and it's not. I mean, it became pretty long, so that's why we can. I mean, the scripts are there, so we can explain that. Yeah. So this is the third form that we have, and these were
Vatsala, can you just briefly walk us through the script
yeah.
as well?
Okay. So wait, we can go to the shaft script. 1 minute. Yeah. So just zoom in. Okay, I can just explain that way. So we took hexagon form as a base form, and then we first, we moved it, and then we lofted the curve. Then once the curve was lofted, we rotated it, we scaled them, and then we rotated it. Next. And yeah, so that is how we got the form, and then we took the outer curve. So to get those selected curves to get the shaft, we used list item, and then we could use these to get our certain curves, and then we used the pipe command here. Next. Yeah, so this was for the hexagon form.
Yeah, for the hexagon form, we've actually took a hexagon, then scaled it. First we did linear array, then we have scaled it using a graph mapper. Then we have remapped the numbers. Then we got a form. So we have we have tried rotating the form as well, but we didn't like that. So we have just kept it at 0. Then we have out of the loft we have selected all the surfaces. Then we have isotrimmed each surface to create the geometry on the surface. Then we have piped everything so that we could get this form.
Yeah, and then for the third form, so the third form, so these are our extra spaces except for the museum. So we have an entertainment view center, an auditorium, and a restaurant. So our base form was a seashell. So when we morphed 4 seashells together, so we got this form, and then further we modified it using mesh command, and then through that one curve that was created originally, we were able to even so the expression was changed. It was made minus x, and that's how we got the lower portion. And then so at the top portion, the triangle, we used the contour command to get this final form. I can explain it in the script. Yeah. So, okay, just zoom in on the top part. The lower part is similar. It just has minus x as the expression. So yeah, the next part, I think Neerja is going to explain. We'll talk about the museum.
Yeah.
So the form for museum was inspired by the shell structure. Museum and also it was also concentrated on the circulation area and the display area. The floor on which it is there is tunnel type, and where the artworks and artworks are displayed on both the sides, and space is designed in such a way that it has good space for circulation and interaction in the middle. The space under which comes below the museum part is for services and planters for purifying the water is hung. Janardana will be further explaining about the commands and the plugins used.
Like the sign graph is same, but the range that we have given is different. That's why we got the top portion as a bigger one than the smaller one. So here the plan was to use all the bottom part for services, and the exterior portion will be used for planters and coral reefs. And on the above, all the interior space that we have achieved will be used as a museum purpose for display, as well as since this is a ring sort of form, where people can enter through one side and can leave from the other side. So this becomes like a proper, a walking path sort of thing, so that people can easily navigate through the space. And Neeraja will explain the form of the pavilion.
This pavilion is Boolean structures. This pavilion resembles the clusters of bubbles. The bubble is a pneumatic structure enclosed only by a thin translucent membrane that squeezes into the void of the building. The bubble produces a soft building inside of a hard one, in which existing and new spaces are intertwined. Yeah.
So what we have done is, here also we have selected two curves. Then we have selected cutting it into points, and then we have moved the points in using graph mapper. So basically these two are inspired from the seashells as well. So here we have used the random reducer to create holes in the surface. Then
so the idea behind providing a bridge was like to provide a transition space between the ocean and the main surface. And this also, like when you move to the ocean, the first thing that greets you are the waves. So that's the idea behind using this as the bridge at the entrance. So the choice of like this pavilion was because it satisfied all the conditions that I had in my mind. And well, that's it.
and of how it is going to be visible from outside the water. Here we have people to enter the space using boats. So they come here, they get on the deck, and we have a bridge which encloses the deck. Then they come to see these pavilions on all the sides. And then we have a space for walking, as well as the solar panels. Then in the center we have the structure. So under the structure there is this hexagonal form through which they can enter the underwater aquarium. So these are some elevations of the elevations of the above water structure. Then this is the underwater structure. So once the people enter the space, they will move through these helical pipes, so where they will get 360 degree of the ocean. Then they will enter the central space. Through that, they will have access to all the areas around it. So here we can have the plantations and coral reefs. Actually, we couldn't find the exact sculpture, so we have just kept the horse here. They're supposed to be Chhatrapati Shivaji's ideal kept here as well. So here's the total plan of it, few elevations of it. Just an artistic view of how it's going to look roughly, something like this. Yep. That's
Okay, so
good afternoon, sir. We are group number 7, group of 6 people. But so let's start with the design project which we took. We took a spiritual and healing center, and the main intent of choosing Yeah, so why we decided for the healing center or the spiritual center was the like, as we all know that fishes are considered to be the stress busters, and also they help in healing our depression, and they are also one of the species who absorbs negative energies. So like, we wanted to give value to our project and just not make a tourist spot for everybody. So we went for a spiritual and healing center. uh, then we like how to go for the concept. So basically the form of the structure. So we did some background research first. We found out what should be the basic design features that should be incorporated in our underwater design. So we found out that lots of organic forms are usually there. Then one should have lots of views because the underwater scene is very vibrant, and it involves lots of colors and different kind of elements and scenic beauty. Then the four main elements which we categorized basically were the water, animals, plants, and caves, which are generally one person found in the underwater. Then for the form, we basically wanted to biomimic an octopus. The main reason for choosing the octopus as a form or the biomimicking creature was that the octopus is considered to be the smartest invertebrate in the world, and it has a strong mind and heart, which directly relates to our concept of having a spiritual and healing center. So the octopus becomes a symbol for our structure. Then the evolution of form. So since octopus has lots of parts, and we just didn't wanted to make an octopus like a floating octopus kind of thing, but we wanted to take features from it. So firstly, what we have did was octopus has three hearts. So we placed three oval shaped structures which might represent the head of the octopus also, but at the same time it is replicating three hearts. These three hearts form the main meditation centers and spiritual centers of our structure. Then we moved on with the arms of the octopus, which we tried uh, uh, mimicking in a twisted form, and we basically wanted to have a little bit replication of caves in that. So we integrated the cave structure with the arms of the octopus, and seashells were included, which we came from the idea that octopus arms has lots of suckers in it. So we gave a few pods which are shaped in seashell, and the reason for using seashell as the shape was that octopus is very fond of seashells and it loves decorating its own place, its own space with those shells. So we integrated those things in that. Then we further moved on having a supporting structure for the main body of meditation center, and that structure has been inspired from seaweeds, and that has been twisted and have been given various facade treatment for the same. Then we further moved on having a skywalk above the whole structure. The skywalk will also help for the people to enter the space, and also this also will give a view towards the main structure. So this is the final form which is on the bottom left corner of the this slide. So these are basically few views. So as we can see is the three heads has been placed together and has been joined with a central globe structure placed on a disc. And this structure has all the services provided for traveling from these three heads towards the shelled pods, and the traveling are these arms which are called the boatways in our case, and these are the connecting areas. Then a tower is there, which is the twisted tower. This tower will basically have all the hotel rooms and all the leisure activities with restaurants. And above all, we have a pavilion over it. And on the right side of the image, you can also see that these three heads are not fully submerged in the water. They are like 1/4 is above the water, and the main intent of placing these uh, heads above water was to have sunlight also, and have a sky view also, with a little view of underwater. So we have tried to explain everything separately also. So we have bifurcated our whole form in 5 parts, yet yet complementing towards each other. So first was the head, which I have most probably explained, but we also have some structural view of it. So as you can see, we have placed one heart in each of the head to focus, like, one heart is always there in the head of the octopus, and this heart will be the main meditation hall for every person. Then these are few views of arms and the pods with the supporting structure of the tower. So basically these arms are the connected both ways, and the mesh, the facade which we have represented, is a combination of scales which we usually see in the marine animals, and the green spaces which you can see will be used for this greenery, to introduce greenery in the structure. Then also for the head, I forgot to mention about the facade treatment. So the facade treatment has totally been inspired by the fish net, and also with the scales of the fish which are there on the fish. And how we have made this form or this mesh will be explained later on. Then the tower, which is inspired from the seaweed. So this tower has been twisted in a flowy pattern, and this involves all the rooms, restaurants, and all the leisure spaces. The facade treatment of the tower has been inspired from the spiked scales of puffer fish. So we have basically given those spiked conical treatment to the facade, and this twisted tower has basically 20 floors. Then the skywalk. Anurag, could you please go on with the skywalk?
Yeah, so the skywalk, we designed the skywalk because, as we know, sea is an infinite open space, and suddenly in the middle of the sea, we are approaching a closed space. So to connect both these spaces, we gave a semi-open space. So actually, it can provide interaction and it can provide it's a dramatic space for interaction that is created by natural and artificial things which connect the infinite space and the closed space of the structure. And we thought to biomimic the turtle shell for that, and gave the Voronoi mesh on that. So in the turtle shells, as we know that if we each shell, if we create a rectangular line in till the middle, so it will be the same on both sides. So in the Voronoi structure also it's the same. The edges, if we create a line till the midpoint, so on the both sides it will be same. So we tried to create it on the shell structure from the biomimicking the turtle shell. And next part, Surbi.
Yeah, so these are a few rendered images of the design which we have taken out. So basically, they are the views from like a perspective top view also, like how will it look from above the water, and also the whole structure which will look, how will it come out. So these are basically the rendered views for that. Then we have some grasshopper scripts. So I would like to add here that what Sir taught us during the workshop, we also tried to explore something outside. So for these, for the mesh of the heads, which is inspired from the scales of the fish. So this has some triangular diamond shaped structures in it. So like
explain.
yeah.
So first, what I did, I made a surface and I randomized it by graph mapper, so sine graph, and then I adjusted it and randomized it according to until the perfect shape came, which can relate to the structure. And then I experiment with it. I did piping on that and everything. Then I suddenly this turtle concept clicked. So what I did, I made a Voronoi mesh in the one rectangle, and I just morphed it in this structure.
Was our background work, which we did lots of weird sketches throughout the time, and like we just put it in a collage kind of thing, and that's it.